G'day Warlords, the Riverwood Rumble has been run and won, and on today's episode I chat with veteran Max through the many highlights from our first event where we had our Rumble Championship awarded to James and his Warriors of the Dark Gods. So please subscribe to the podcast, follow the Part-Time Warlords on Facebook for all the news, photos and events. Coming up very soon, we have the Coastal Cataclysm on the Central Coast of New South Wales on July 27th. And we also have Matt's 2-day event in Carlingford, Sydney, which will ring in the glorious advent of Ninth Age 3rd Edition. Stay tuned in the next few weeks for lots of news on 3rd Edition. And thank you very much for listening to the Part-Time Warlords. Hello everybody, and hello to my special guest, first time on the podcast. He's reminded me quite a few times that he has never been invited on the podcast. It is Maximus. G'day Max, how are ya?
Hey Chris, how you going?
I'm really good, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. The other warlords have all fallen off a cliff, so...
I think that I yelled at you enough on Saturday while I was drunk about not inviting me. I don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure that happened.
It is great to have you on. And yeah, great to have you on for the first time. It was the Riverwood Rumble on Saturday. It feels like ages ago for myself. School holidays coming up, so a bit of time to decompress. How was it for you, Max?
But I said this actually on my video the other night. I think it might have been my favourite Ninth Age tournament that I've been to.
Oh, that's awesome.
Genuinely fantastic time.
So good. And your the video that you mentioned, I do have to admit I only have watched the first quarter of it, but you went through all your battles basically. Is that right?
Yeah. I was worried that I didn't have enough pictures to have 3 separate battle reports that would be of a sufficient length to bother with, so I just did them all at once.
Yeah. Did you use any of the photos that I took?
No, I didn't even know that you had taken photos, really, to be honest.
Yeah, again, just for a bit of background, guys, so Riverwood Rumble was on Saturday. We did have a couple of dropouts, so that meant that I was playing, I wasn't playing, and it changed twice. But eventually, once we got everything sorted, I just got to be organizer man. I got to go around, take a lot of photos, chat with people, get lots of rules wrong, as I ordinarily do. And yeah, a bunch of photos up on Facebook, which is great to kind of build up that sort of bank, and lots of great models as well. So people brought along some really spiffy looking stuff. Max, you brought along the throng. You brought along the blocks and blocks and blocks of dwarves.
As many dwarves as I could bring.
Yeah. Overall, how was the bring every model list? Was it enjoyable?
So surprisingly enjoyable and surprisingly competent, actually.
Yeah. What made it so? Was it just the amount of bodies you had? I mean, I mentioned it to you. I thought that, any T4 with a great weapon unit is, half decent, especially if you've got a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, so yes to that. I was concerned that a lot of things could just sort of kill 8 out of 15 or so and then blast through, and I'd have trouble, or I'd be in a tight spot with not being able to see things getting through my lines. But it was pretty much just, they're kind of hard to chew through, and I've just got so many. If in every charge phase I can throw 2 charges for every 1 that you can throw, even if I'm slow, that's quite a balancer. Yep. And there's a lot of times where I can just sort of go, well, this doesn't look good, so I'm just going to throw a block in front of you and we'll see what happens. So
everything is chaff, and everything is a flanker, basically, right?
Yeah, everything's chaff, and some of it's stubborn or unbreakable. So you often are looking at it going, that's not that scary, but he's going to get 2 flank charges in the next time if I charge it, and he's probably not going to go all the way through. So yeah, surprisingly, actually quite decent.
Yeah, and we played at 3,500 points, as most of you would know that 4,500 points is the kind of standard game size. So we're playing under points. So we were getting, some slight variations on, lists that you would normally get. Essentially, you had very limited characters,
Yeah,
no artillery. Was it
yeah,
was it no shooting or?
yeah. I went no magic, no shooting, and my characters were two Thanes. So,
Yes.
and then I tried to
Wow.
get a little bit because dwarves have a really good range of options of
Hmm.
like they're all like just an infantry model with a different weapon, but like rangers get scout, miners get ambush. So I actually had quite a few sort of deployment options and
So you could
variations.
outmaneuver and things
Yeah,
like that as well.
yeah,
Scouting, yeah. A scouting, sorry, are they scoring and scouting?
yeah. So long as you don't
Oh,
make
wow.
them the skirmishers, you've got like those ranges that I was using, which I think are quite good, were
Yep.
20 models. They scout. They've got a great weapon. They're toughness 4, 5 up armor,
Yep.
for 280 points.
Yep. Yeah, they're phenomenal. I used them in two blocks of, I think back in the day, what was it? Two blocks of 14 with crossbows.
Yeah, the
Um,
crossbows are as soon as they like are
and
what makes them
shields, I
expensive,
think. Yes, they are
basically.
expensive, yes.
Whereas
Um,
if you don't give them shooting weapons, they're essentially just a clan warrior with Strider Forest and Scout.
yes. Yeah. The true sort of essence of the the ranger type of
Yeah,
archetype. I
yeah,
mean, back in the I'm not sure what they look like in the old world, but the ranger, I think that's the specific unit type that they were. I really couldn't distinguish them from anything, to be honest. So
yeah,
these ones make it a lot clearer in my head what their role is. And it was actually, I think I probably commented at some point during the tournament. I really enjoyed seeing Max's, well, how many blocks was it? Was it 10 blocks of about 20 dwarves each?
I can quickly count
And if
about
people
that.
do
Yeah,
want to, yeah, if people want to go back and have a look at the rankings, if you want to go back and have a look at the lists, I did put a video up on the Ninth Age Facebook page and the Part Time Warlords page. Did put a video up. You can obviously go and have a look on New Recruit and things like that.
yeah. It was 10 blocks. About half of them 15, half of them 20, and then two Vengeance Seekers and two Thanes, a BSB and a General.
Ah, yes, the Vengeance Seekers as well. I keep forgetting them as well. So really unique, really unique. And I actually really love the style of it because it really was true. What would you call it? Rank and flank, regimental combat. That
Yep.
was very limited shenanigans. Besides, you charge me here, I hammer an anvil here, I flank here. We're not flying over anyone's heads. We're not, launching magic into anything, or you knew what you were getting.
Yeah, it felt like a very different game than when I play something like Demons, where I've got a greater demon, I've got a couple of blazing glories, and you're always basically just going, "Oh, if I move here, can you not see me? Or what if I move this part instead? Can you maybe still now not see me? Eventually, can I get a flank charge?"
Yeah.
Um, with the dwarves, for two of my three games, my first turn was literally 2 minutes because I went, "All right, 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches. All right, there I am.
No runes or
Figure it
anything,
out."
right? Zero runes as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I've played you a fair number of times where you've also had the totems. Is that what they're called for beast herds?
Yep.
All the totems and all that sort of stuff. So you didn't even go that. So it was really refreshing and actually looked really interesting. And for this type of event, especially fun because you're
Yeah.
just throwing waves of bodies at the enemy. And out maneuvering them in a lot of circumstances.
Yeah, I think that if you took this kind of list to like the ETC, you just get stomped. But so long as you're that one level below where things aren't quite as tuned, it's like, you know what? It works fine.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's great. We'll talk about the future of for those sorts of lists. Probably maybe at the end of this episode a little bit, and maybe in a future episode, because it does look like that is this type of thing that they're probably going to be encouraging going into
So,
the
yeah.
future. Well, fingers crossed anyway, because it does seem very fun and give us an excuse to actually get the movement trays and a lot of the regiments back. So I thought for this episode, Max, we'd kind of go through and do like a 3-2-1, like a 3 points, and we can alternate. Just pick one thing you want to talk about the event or about your opponents or about a game specifically. So yeah, we might just do that. You've got 3 points, I've got 3 points, and have you got number? Oh, just for reference as well, just before we start, because we dropped down, we had 12 players. We did have Paul will have a bit of something come up, so he had to drop off. Hugo had to go to work, so the Dread Fleet delayed their arrival. It's like D-Day. They went onto the wrong beach and then realized
they're already at the coastal cataclysm and they're waiting.
It. They're already at the coastal cataclysm and they're very dehydrated. That'll be one of my points, I think. And Brendan as well was sick as well. So we'll see those two guys, maybe hopefully all three of them at coastal cataclysm. Fingers crossed we can get a game in with them. But that left us with 8 because I had to drop out of odd numbers. So we had Jack with the Sylvan Elves. We had Luke with the hilarious goblins, which we'll get into. We had Tim with his not-so-dwarves. He's only had 1 unit of dwarves in his list or whatever it was. The rest were all constructs and giants. Then we had Mark with his warriors. Then we had, of course, Max with the dwarves that we've just been talking about. Lee with the ghouls. And Matt with his Conquistador Empire of Sonstor army. And then we had James, who was our eventual winner, with his Warriors of the Dark Gods, with his, what was it, the Wasteland Behemoth and the Demon Prince?
Yep.
Yeah, that was it. So that was our ladder there. I'm sure Max will talk about how he was inches away from victory. Well, a couple of dice away from victory. So maybe we'll throw it to you, Max, for what's your first sort of takeaway from the Rumble?
Mainly, I think just that everybody came with a really, really good vibe and the right kind of lists to have fun. Like, no one was there sort of going like, all right, this is my time. I'm going to win the Rumble, and that's it for me. So everyone was sort of like, I'm just going to take models that I think look nice and that seem fun. And everyone played their games the exact same way, where it was essentially just everybody getting together, playing some games and having some fun, which was, good. I wouldn't necessarily say change of pace, but it was good to see that everybody was basically like, I'm playing this game for fun rather than to win.
Yeah, you yourself especially, you've played in a lot of competitive scenes overseas and in Australia, so you definitely know the meaning of the play to win at all costs type of tournament mentality, ETC mentality. So that would be a big change.
One thing I will point out about ETC is that the 6 people that I played are some of the nicest, friendliest people that I've ever played against. So yes. I did not have any issues with like sportsmanship or anything dodgy. It was just I didn't really like how the games were played in terms of how aggressive people were, but the people were so lovely. It was like really, really nice how great the community was, even at ETC level.
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? It's the style of game, or it's the sort of clinical nature of how team tournaments at that level work, I guess. Is that right? You know, you're trying to get an X amount of points, and risk versus reward is a massive thing, trying to deter certain types of play.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, part of my issue is the fact that I wasn't properly prepared with the kind of list and what I was going to do in the team. So it's not as if like everybody else is wrong and I'm right and they should do it the way I do it. It's just that there were, I think, a large proportion of the players are sort of there to get to 13 rather than really try and play the game.
Yeah. And we did have a lot of quite a lot of really close games at the Rumble. I was actually really kind of psyched when I saw it did have to change a little bit, obviously, with the dropouts, but the first round matchup that I did the preview for, it seemed like you were going to get pretty much strength on strength. You were going to get, maybe similar experience or similar ability generalship against each other in that first round. And pretty much I can kind of look back at the stats here, but I'm pretty sure we only had 2 blowout games two, maybe 3, and they were all in the last round. I'll just double check. We had 1, 2 blowouts in round 3. And then if I go back to round 2, it was all, even Steven. And round 1, we had a couple of 17 threes in round 1, which shot yourself and Matt up the tables. But it wasn't until round 3 that we had a 20-0 and a 19-1. So pretty much every other game, people were getting points out of it, and it was really back and forth. So again, credit to the people playing for their great attitude and their, fun sort of, what's the word? Well, the sportsmanship that they showed, really. We're not there to ruin anyone's day or cheese anyone. Not that it's easy to do that in ninth age exactly at this, especially at the points level. But yeah, it seemed that way. I mean, maybe you've seen a little bit more cheese than I have, Max. But I don't know. I just maybe I'm not smart enough to work out a really cheesy, horrible list to take to an event that people will hate me for. Hundreds and hundreds of I don't know. What could you take? The vermin slaves, just with literally 300 vermin slaves.
I've never been good at finding an actual good cheese list. I can find lots of cheese lists, but that's like B tier.
Yeah.
As soon as you come up against someone who's actually good, its weaknesses are clearly shown.
Yeah. So lots of competitive matchups, lots of wouldn't say there was a couple of really swingy, fun moments in games, especially that I witnessed. Just going around. I'd come back to your table, for example, and there's Treeman flanking, and then all of a sudden the Treeman's on 1 wound and he's on his last leg, and that was a good one actually. I think you showed that in your. Was that battle? That was round 1, I think, against
Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, round 1 against Jack. So Jack's always fantastic to play against. Remember playing against him years ago and just being like, oh, can I play against this guy like all the time? It's just
I won all of my games in this tournament against him, and all future tournaments.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And I think in the rankings here, I'm just having a look. Almost everybody won a game. To your point, I think it was just Luke with the goblins that didn't win, but somehow, good on you, Luke. Luke had an extremely good points differential for being in the bottom half of the competition. It was better than all Mark, Tim, and Jack. So he protected his points. So he's going to ETC next year.
Yeah.
Well done. The goblins are going to ETC next year, Luke. So yeah, we could talk about them later. But again, everyone brought some fantastic models as well. Really high quality. Some new models, some old models. It was great to see people bringing some new stuff that they painted. I know that Tim had, what are the name of those models, Max? The Stormcast?
That he used for his Hold Guardians.
Oh, beautiful, gigantic, Space Marine like Stormcast using his Hold Guardians. I'm glad you remembered the name of that unit because I never remember them. I'm like, are they wardens? No, they're not wardens. They're just golems in my head. But yeah, this again, James brought his big old dragon that he'd been working on for ages. So kudos to him. And a lot of goblins. I think Luke had been working on a fair amount of those as well. Those bloomin' fanatics. I don't know. You didn't get to play Luke, did you, Max?
No.
No, but he had a bunch of fanatics, and then he had this model that was on a round base, which was the Mangler Squig, but it was actually like 6 fanatics, all like linked together or swinging at once. So that was a fun one to see as well. And the trying to think, what other ones did we have? A lot of different ranges of models as well. So yours are all G-dub, aren't they?
No.
You got some Highlands or things in there?
So I've got a mix. Um, I think probably like 60% SG dub, and then the other is like 3D printed.
Yep.
But actually, Kaioshuneko, I think, is
Oh,
the
okay.
miniature brand. It's literally the first models I ever printed.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
are the dwarves I used for my rangers.
Oh, I wouldn't even know the difference. So fantastic.
Yeah, I like pretty much that like that designer. I don't know what you call them. But his models are what made me think, yeah, maybe I should get a 3D printer, print some of these guys out, and
Maybe
pad
we'll
out
have
my
to do
dwarf army.
a model. What do you call it? A range review of those. I need to have a little look. There will come a time when I need to stock up the dwarves numbers.
I actually really like his dwarf models, so get on my mini factory and you can have a look at all of them.
Yeah, fantastic. Um, all right. So thank you very much for your number one. That actually pretty much I answered my own number one in linking it to yours, which was about the competitiveness. Just everyone was in every game. Everyone was having a good time. It was back and forth. There was a fair amount of offensive play. Well, with that, actually, might talk about the scenarios. We had some really interesting things happening in the foul manners scenario, the one that we've talked about quite a bit, where you have a unit that's basically is frenzied and will score you points if the enemy fails their frenzy tests against it. I think my favorite moment was in round one. I saw who was it? I think it was it Mark with the dogs with the warhounds. I'm trying to remember now. He put it on his warhounds and he walks up in round one in front of a bunch of units and they all fail. It's Mark against Matt.
I think I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he puts the foul mannered unit is his dogs. So that the mangy mutts are foul mannered. He walks them up as you do with chaff to block Matt's scoring units right in the center of the battlefield. And first turn, they fail. First or second turn, they fail 2 charges. Or they fail 2 frenzy tests against the dogs, and it hands him 4 points for the secondary. So within a turn, the secondary was gone because he was never going to get
Yeah.
4 units or 2 scoring units to fail it. So that was great to see because it got a bit hairy for Mark after that, but he'd already done his job, so he got his points that he needed, and the dogs scarp it off. So I got to witness that. That was very funny.
My one for that on literally the last turn of the game, Jack just needed to pass his frenzy check with his archers, and he would have won the objective, and he failed it.
And it's archers too.
Yeah,
I just love that it's archers.
They had no business fighting those deep watch, but they were like, we gotta try.
Yeah. Yeah. So your deep watch had it. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And that would be the closest that you had to like a scoring, like a tanky unit that wasn't going to move too much, right? That was your sort of holding unit with your BSB in it.
Yeah, they were sort of I knew that I could push them forward.
Yep.
With counter charges to come help them later, basically. So, whereas if I put it on anything else, I'm like, I might need to use that as chaff.
Yeah.
At any point in this game.
Yeah, that's it. Everything is chaff. That's great. That is actually a really freeing concept, isn't it? Every unit is kind of expendable in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like against Matt in game 2, he killed 10 or something of my Kingsguard in the first round of shooting. Wow. So I went, right, well, my general's now just going to leave those guys.
Go over to the other bodyguard unit. Yeah, it's just freeing, not having to worry so much about all that. I mean, leadership-wise, you got good leadership anyway, I guess, but I'm always petrified of that. Petrified of, I mean, the armies that I play as well, orcs and goblins and Skaven, not exactly known for their fantastic leadership, so they've got to stick together. Not a lot of autonomy going in there. But I'm looking forward to hopefully getting some games against these guys in the next couple of events as well. What's your number 2?
My number 2 was just a moment in my game against Jack where my humble clan warriors did that last wound to his tree man. They'd been fighting him for like 3 rounds or something earlier. The
Yeah.
Vengeance Seeker was doing all the wounds, and they were just sort of standing around providing static res. But after running away from him, rallying, they charged him again with 5 or 3 guys left or something. They managed to do that last wound.
Are these are literally like hand weapon
Yep.
shield
Yep.
against the tough six.
Yep.
Tree.
That's
Oh my
3 up,
god.
5 up.
3 up, 5 up. Ah, that's a moment. I did kind of, when I was walking past and I was saying, stomp the Vengeance Seeker. Like, just stomp the bloody Vengeance Seeker. Why? Because the Vengeance Seeker, I think you're probably one of the only people I've seen who's been using it. Remind me, is it strength 4, strength 5? What's its?
It's strength 5, but it's got that Seeker rule for always wound on a 4.
Oh dear. Okay, so it is a Seeker as well as its own special thing.
Yep.
Okay. Well, okay. Very good at that job. Did it do quite a lot of wounds to the Tree Father? Was it responsible for
I reckon
the early damage?
Tree Father's got 5 wounds, right? I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think of the 4 wounds I'd already done to it, I reckon it did 3 of them, and the Clan Warriors did 1.
Jack, stomp the tree.
Yeah.
Stomp it. Don't worry about the combat res. Just kill it. That was great. That was great. It's just a great matchup. What else did we have? We had in round 1, we had Lee go up against Luke. There was a swarm of fanatics in that one. That was, in every game that Luke had, there was a swarm of fanatics. I bet you're glad you didn't have to play against that.
I would not have known what to do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just move my dwarves up and be like, I don't know, something will happen.
My number 2 was about not having to face people. So my number 2 was about not having to solve this problem of there's 4 mad gits and 1 mangler squig just right there. He did it in Luke did it in one matchup, and it was really unfortunate. I think it went into, I can't remember which unit it was, but he had a wall of them in the center of the battlefield, right over the objective, and all of the mad gits went in one by one. But Luke decided he would pick up all the damage dice at once for every single one of them and just toss it all at once. I reckon that was a bad omen because they all bounced.
Oh.
It looked like it was going to be absolutely catastrophic, but it wasn't, unfortunately. Just kind of jinxed it, I think, with the this is four lots of 2d6 strength for AP2, AP3, can't remember what it is now, but yeah, unfortunately they bounced in that game. So very happy I didn't have to play against them. I was actually kind of happy I didn't have to. I was going to get matched up against Lee first thing. I'm like, oh, Lee's going to smash me. So I was a bit happy about that. He had the, I don't remember if he had 1 count. Did he have 1 count? The Ghoul Lord count?
I thought that he had 2, but I didn't pay that much attention to this.
Yeah, the looking back on it, I'm trying to make a list now for Coastal Cataclysm with vampire counts, and I'm having a really hard time, honestly, because I think Lee's got the right idea. You just got to take. Yep, he's got double counts, but his double counts are both on foot. That's how you keep them cheap. Okay, thank you.
Right,
Lee.
yeah, that makes
You've helped me. You've helped me immeasurably. I was wondering how does he keep them cheap? They're 600. His are about 600 points each. Almost 700 points each. But he had the Ghoul Lord. Was the Ghoul Lord the general? No, it was not. The Ghoul Lord had the Hypnotic Pendant and the Truther Sword. So, pretty straightforward stuff, but really effective. And he had the Vampire Count, who was basically the magical backup, but he was also the bulk with the bulk upgrade, so he worked in the gas. So
it gives them like scoring and stuff, right?
It's just such a good, really awesome combo. I was just like, oh, when I think of this, I keep thinking of like, I want to get my Lamia models out. I just desperately trying to figure out a way to get my Lamia models out when there's just much more much more effective combos that can be done. So at this point, I'm very happy I didn't have to play against Lee's synergy, and I've got no idea what I'm doing when it comes to VC list building. Well, Lee and I did agree on one thing, Max. It was bring phantom hosts.
I haven't like I've played a little bit of VC, but purely online because I don't have the actual army. As soon as they had their ward save nerfed, I thought they must be bad now.
As in all the ethereal units, right?
Well, because they used to have a 2-up before the most recent update, whereas like the wraiths and stuff still had a 3-up, I think.
Yep.
And then as soon as they moved from a 2-up to a 3-up, I thought, well, I figured they were only good because of their 2-up, so I'd be surprised if they were good now, but apparently they are.
Yeah, I think they're cheap, and they've still got a 3-up ward save, 5-up against magical attacks, which as a side note I absolutely love. I hate the sort of scissors paper rock style of, oh, you have magical attacks, I get nothing.
Yeah.
Style, but also the mundane attacks can possibly get through, but it's still, you've still got that like sort of, what do you call it, the power armor save.
Yeah.
Is that was what we consider it to be, the power armor save, the 3-up, the magical 3-up. So yeah, and they can pump out a bunch of attacks as well, and I think they've got Terra. Do they have Terra being ethereal? I have to double check that.
The other ethereal stuff definitely does. I don't know about them though.
Yeah. I'll double check. But yeah, they've just got a bunch of attacks. I think they're only strength 3, but they have 4 attacks each AP 1, so really good against humans, goblins, rank and file, just ordinary stuff. Along with the bat swarms, bat swarms are always a popular choice now. They're almost too good in some ways in the VC core. VC core has never been something to be very fond of, but
well, because most of it's just basically outside of ghouls.
Yes.
Just there to block you, right?
Yeah. And bat swarms do that very well.
Best at that now for some reason.
Yes. The bat swarms have taken the zombies and the skeletons' jobs because they've just got so many wounds and debuffs.
Yeah, they're distracting and they're
they're neg offense, defense, and distracting. So they themselves can only be hit on like a 4 or a 5. And it obviously buffs if you've got another unit in contact as well. So really cool. And yeah, he did very well for himself. I think Lee was 2nd overall at the end. So yeah, really reliable list, especially at this points count. I can barely fit 2 bloody courtiers in there. I don't know how he's fitting the 2 counts. It was just like, oh my god. I don't know if you have this as well, Max. I have this kind of want not to copy lists.
Yep, I'm exactly the same.
I thought you might, yeah. You want to kind of make it your own.
Yep.
So as much as I see that, I'm like, oh, I just want to do what I've either got the models for or what I want to kind of conjure up myself. So we'll see. We'll see in our next sort of Coastal Cataclysm videos if I actually do come up with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, very happy I didn't have to play Lee's list. I'm actually pretty happy I didn't have to play the bloody pirate elves either, because I'm pretty sure they would have fucked me over as well.
Oh, I know that game would have started with Hugo very like detailed, happy to explain what everything does, and I would have been like, I know that I won't remember.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't care. So I'm gonna move up. You're probably going to kill me, and we're just going to see what happens.
Drown in the water. Yep.
Yeah, definitely drown in the water with all of my infantry.
And for anyone who is able to make it to our future events, we will repost Hugo's chat about what the Dread Elves do. The Dread Fleet list does.
I listened to that.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, I don't know what anything does.
Because they're all variations on Corsairs.
Right.
Everything's a variation on a Corsair. Then there's variations on the Avatar. Sorry, not the Avatar. The Blood Cauldron. There's a variation on Medusas. Yeah, it's interesting. There's really interesting ideas in there. Probably needs maybe just one more update to really get it where it needs to be, but it's on the whole, whoever designed it, kudos. It's got a good amount of flavor in there. So the that was my two. That was my two. Not having to face the killer vampires and the killer pirate elves. And yeah, have you got a three?
My three was the very last thing that happened at the event, which was that I failed my Leadership 9 terror test. That meant that I lost my BSB, my Deep Watch, and the objective. Because, so I think you asked for highlights originally, and I think that one, that's just like a really good moment for a weekend of non-super competitive wargaming. Because it was quite exciting and a bit of a story. But two, I actually also think well justified for the fact that James played better than me the whole game. So I might have been able to squeak out a 10-10 if that hadn't happened. But I think he got the rewards that he deserved because that happened.
Oh, good on you. Yeah. It was I did see James's family around as well, and I spoke to him. I was like, have you ever won or gotten close to winning an event before? He's like, nah, never. Like, I was so happy. I was actually quite happy for him because I'm pretty sure that it's something that it's really hard to get number one to get some good matchups or to get a bit of luck going your way and outplay some of your opponents. One day is maybe give you that opportunity a little bit more, just because it is a bit more random who you're playing and you've only got 3 matchups to kind of nail it. But I was just so happy that he was able to come through with a win in a tournament, not against you specifically, just in general, to see him have a huge smile on his face when he realized he was like stressing out. Did you see his face? He was so stressed out.
No,
at the end there, because he was looking at your stuff, going, "Oh my god, is this the last round?" And that happened, and you could see the moment where he realized that he couldn't lose.
Right, okay.
And the relief kind of like went over his face. Everything about him was so tense.
That's so funny because he seemed so calm during our game. Like, we were just, drinking beers, like slapping each other in combat. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So I didn't even really think anything of it. I was like, oh yeah, cool.
Because what happens is it builds up, right? Because you're just playing like a normal game, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that person lost. Oh, that person won. Oh, that means that whoever wins this.
Yeah.
And by I think probably turn 5, probably around turn 5, it was like, oh, this is for the marbles. Yeah, this is for all the marbles now. So, it was really great because it built up towards the end, and I just got to kind of stand on the sidelines and watch it. Because I've had that happen once before.
I think I had none of that pressure because I'd gone into the event assuming that this list could not do well. And two, I went into that third game being like, well, this is a really, I think, quite bad matchup. Like, I can't do anything about these monsters. Right?
The monsters, the monster matchup. Yeah.
And like not really knowing how many points anything in my army or my opponent's army cost. I didn't really ever have any idea how the game was going midway through, so
that's very impressive. That's still very impressive. And just for people to reference, I think we spent a little bit of time afterwards calculating, and I think you saw that as a 5-point swing. Is that what we kind of roughly thought it was?
I think so, yeah.
So that terror test of your bravest unit essentially against his scary unit fleeing ultimately was about a 5-point swing.
I think, I mean, I don't 100% trust any maths that I was doing at the time, but I think that it was like it went from a 10-10 if nothing had happened to a 15-5.
Yep. But you did say yourself there's a decent chance that combat ends up with you. There's a slight chance that they run away anyway from the combat.
Because theoretically, if I make the Leadership 9 terror,
Yeah.
I've still got to follow that by his Exalted Herald's going to kill my champion, and I'm going to take a Leadership 8 rerollable break test. So
Yeah.
realistically, I think that when you combine those two things, it's a pretty reasonable chance that you fail.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was the last matchup. Well, actually, I think it was Luke and Mark. They wanted to keep playing on until the night. We had to wrap them up at some point. They were like, "Okay, it's on our last turn," but then we didn't realize. We looked over at their table that their last turn included like 6 combats across the entire map. So yeah, they really enjoyed their game against each other as well. So thank you to everybody again for coming. Getting to witness all these hilarious moments spread out across the day was great. And yeah, it was good to see was it our podium switched around like pretty rapidly there. We had you pretty much at the top round 1 and round 2, and then in round 3 tough thing at the end there. But we had Matt and we had Lee get some big wins and jump right up to the top. I think they got 19 and 20 points respectively. So that meant maybe this goes with my earlier number 1 point, was that we only had 4 points between first place and fourth place. Which was absolutely
5
awesome.
points, very important from my game.
Again, assuming you didn't get cut down by him in the combat. But yeah, it was literally Max at 38, Lee at 39, Matt at 40, and James Knight at 41. So that was awesome. That was awesome to see such close, fun games. Because yeah, I think it's the true sort of way the game. I mean, in my head, anyway, it's the way the game's meant to be played.
Yep. It's the best way to play. Like,
yeah.
Ninth is a game that is sort of designed in a way that can be played really competitively because the rules are so sort of strictly laid out.
Yeah.
But
watertight.
It's so much more fun when you're dialing that competitiveness back from like a 10 to a 5.
Yeah.
Just going, well, I mean, we're just here to roll some dice and see some things die.
Yeah. And you've got a bit of luck, but not too much, random stupid luck that's going to come into play. Like you got to have a terror-causing unit in a good position to cause a certain thing to happen, or a march block, or a miscast, or a big thing going off. So there's still definitely a lot of fun swingy things that can happen, but in a good way.
What I actually think is like the real mark of what Ninth Edge does well is that you can, at 95% of the levels of the game, take essentially whatever you want.
Yep.
Whereas other games, it's sort of like, well, here's your army book, and you can take these 3 things in it, and if you take anything outside those 3, you're doing it wrong, and you're nerfing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But as you assured me earlier in the day, Max, I can and should take an entire core of direwolves.
Obviously. It's the only right choice. You've got a 3D printer, so if you don't do it, I'll be very disappointed.
I'll be broke. I'll be broke by the end of it, and my hands will all be blistered from alcohol wipes. But yeah, you're right. There's just so many things you can take. I just hope I can figure out something to take to this bloody next tournament. Again, we'll talk about it in the next podcast. What on earth am I going to bring to the Coastal Cataclysm in 3-4 weeks? Great, thank you. Number 3 for me, kind of similar. So my number 3 was, obviously I was organizing with help, and getting awards, getting prizes, and voting and matchups and timing and all that sort of stuff done was fun. I didn't have to play. I could sit back and focus on just being the TO and entertaining the visitors as well who were with us. But it was great because I think I was absolutely smashed already. I wasn't even playing and I was exhausted from a big week at work, finishing up before the holidays. So I'll definitely look into the timing for next year or the next event and try not to put it on my reports week or my parent teacher interviews week. And yeah, it was just so good to see. Again, I hadn't realized this, but a lot of people who hadn't really met each other. So I definitely, the Knights hadn't met, possibly in a while at least, seeing Tim and Mark. So great to see people catching up and getting to know each other a little bit better. Obviously great to see the Knights brothers who pretty much had not played since COVID. And were chomping at the bit to get in and I'm sure they had a fantastic weekend, and did very well, and put a lot of effort into their hobby. They even had practice games against each other and myself and stuff like that. So great to get people back into the hobby a little bit, and just enjoying their company and Jack's company from Melbourne. Got to have a good chat with him. I'm pretty sure at some point in time, Max, you challenged everyone to some sort of fitness challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but you decided it was your mission.
No, I don't really know where that came from either.
I think it was by the end of the night, everyone was getting ready to do some sort of 75-day challenge.
We're all doing it. So, well,
good on you.
Me, Mark, Jack, and Tim, we're all on it. We're all doing our eating clean and our exercising once a day thing. So It's working. I don't know how it came about, but we have a chat that I woke up to.
Oh, how good. That is so good. Really good to just catch up, socialize with everyone. We had dinner together, had lunch together, helped people get home. Again, thank you to everyone who gave people a lift and carpooled and avoided we didn't realize again the trains were out. So it's just the things that happen. We can't predict everything, but we got enough players there to have a great event, and obviously great people, great sportsmanship, great rules recall by me, getting multiple things wrong, but I can see how I got them wrong. So luckily, I was proud of myself once. I did pick up someone on something they were doing wrong. It wasn't anything major, but I said, Lee, I don't think you can spawn that many zombies in that unit. He's like, oh, yeah. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one. Not for the occultism, forgetting how the occultism attribute works. That was the one I mucked up as well. And for some reason, I don't know if this came up in the tournament at all, but I always muck up the terrain, which terrain is dangerous to what type of unit. Maybe it's just me running into too many branches too many often, because I keep thinking that forests are DTs for everyone. I did smack my head. Yeah. So good. Did you have any again, so just my final point there. Again, thanks to you, Max, as well. Thanks for all your encouragement. And Max has put up on his YouTube channel, Young Seward, a video going through all of his battles, and it's great to kind of, I don't know how, Max, you remember half of this stuff, but
as you'll see when you watch the later games, I don't.
You don't.
So,
but no, like in detail, you're like, I was thinking this, or maybe I was thinking this. I think most of the time I'm just pushing forward a few inches and going, I think that's right. But it is impressive to hear, at least for that first game that I listened to, the monologue that you've got as well. And, the club, I think most people agreed that the club was a good place to host an event. Food and bar really close, mostly private space. I think you mentioned how many tables you reckon we can fit in there?
I reckon we can get 9 tables.
I mean, 9 would be 9 would be awesome. I'll probably need some help to move the tables around. Yes. And there is some talk of table sizes being modifiable for lower points counts.
Yeah.
I think for your army, you mentioned that your army would use the table space perfectly fine.
Yeah, I had no issues on a 6x4. So.
With your 10 blocks, 10 blocks with triple march helps. On a side note, thank God for triple march. What would you do without it?
Yeah.
but yeah, for some of the other armies, it was hilarious to see people deploying all in one corner, just lining up against each other on one corner because the rest of the board made it too hard to get your leadership bubble intact or whatever, supporting each other. So yeah, definitely something to think about. And how did you find the scenarios in general?
I thought the scenarios were good.
They were kind of just variations on the original ones, yeah.
More unbalanced, obviously, which isn't a problem, but sort of noticeable. Like, first game I thought was reasonably random in terms of like how many failed frenzy checks is going to happen. The second one, I felt a little bit bad for Matt because he won the roll for sides, which meant that I could drop my whole army and choose a wall that he had to get to, basically, where I was like, I'm going to sit on this wall, and if you charge me, I have distracting. And like dwarves are the perfect army to defend a castle like that. And then I think the last one was just like
it was a
slightly different secure target.
Yeah, it was a breakthrough, a slightly different breakthrough, I think, but yeah, with a point instead of a deployment zone.
Right. Okay. I only remember that I had to get to a point. So.
Yeah. Well, you didn't get there.
Yeah, I tried. I did my best.
You tried. It did.
Those little legs, they take some effort to get over the other side of the board.
Was it 9 inches? Yeah.
But I do think that at least for the first scenario, maybe one of the reasons why we had close results in the first round were because that scenario was hard to sort of like a lot of the core
hard to plan against. Or...
If you win the game, you're going to win the scenario. Yeah. Whereas that one was a little bit more like sort of anything can happen. It's not really dependent on how much you kill of the opponent.
Maybe that would be great to get some feedback from the other guys as well and see if that type of scenario is kind of a good one in there for this type of event. And then, the other ones keep them kind of normal-ish. So that'd be good thanks for your feedback.
I definitely like the variation because, we've been playing the same 6 scenarios for like 5 years. So it was definitely interesting just to do something different, even if just for change's sake.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right, fantastic. Yeah, good to hear a bit of feedback. Just trying to try some different things, trying to make things a little bit vary them up, make them a bit thematic. As well. And I think that pretty much wraps up our chat for the Rumble. I mean, will we be back? Most likely we'll have some form of a Rumble. Luke's got to defend his belt, number one. James, sorry. James has got to defend his belt. Luke may have taken it from him. Who knows? They may have some ongoing rivalry with one of them.
As brothers, they have some kind of system where...
They're probably trading it back and forth in their practice games over the next month. So you'll have to bring it along and actually and defend it next time. And we've excitingly hopefully started off a little bit of a run of community engagement. I know that Matt is keen for a weekend upcoming, so please look out for events on the Ninth Age page. And I'll do a proper sort of outro and talk about all those sort of events as well coming up. We've got Coastal Cataclysm, and what we're naming, I think Matt's named it, the Carlo Smash, with details kind of pending. He's very enthusiastic. He must have a big place if he thinks he can fit us in.
I think one of the things that he first pointed out to me was like, look at how big this I don't know, lounge room or patio space is. Look at how many tables I could fit in here. I could run a tournament.
That's exactly right. We'd be doing some real estate agency work and just be think how many tournaments you can put in. I'm just thinking back to a place that I passed over going, oh shit, that had a lot of tournament space. It had a backyard and it had a giant patio as well.
Hugo ran an event on his balcony once. I don't know if you went to that one.
I think I was there for part of it.
A combo of balcony and inside, but he had, I think, 16, 18 people there.
Yeah, it was patio slaughter or something. It was,
patio slaughter, I think, is the Kingaroy one for...
oh, okay.
I think it was something else. And I can't remember what
it wasn't something on the balcony or something.
Or wargaming from the balcony. There was the wargaming
from the actual balcony.
Yeah, wargaming on the balcony had like some podcast or YouTube channel, so Hugo called it wargaming on the actual balcony.
There you go. Yeah. That was the one.
Yeah,
that was a massive balcony, far out. Although it was very hot out there. That's all I remember.
Yeah, my first game I won the roll for side, so I chose the side with a shade.
That's a physical advantage. Yeah. That's actually just using your battle smarts there. Phenomenal. So yeah, young Seward, go see that video. Go have a look at the photos, posts up on the Facebook page. Please follow the Part-Time Warlords page, and we'll have news of all those events. They're open events. They're open events on there. Feel free to message us if you've got any questions, and sub to the pod, although I'm sure you already have. Max, you're subbed. Of course you are.
Yeah, I'm subbed on, I think, both Apple Podcasts and Spotify, actually, I think.
Listen to that plug. Thanks very much for coming on, buddy. Anything else to say? What are you going to be working on over the next few weeks until we speak to you again?
I really don't know. I've got a lot of 40k sitting on my desk at the moment, but...
What army?
Orcs.
Orcs.
They're the perfect hobby project for me because I can do anything I want with these models. I can slap anything together. I got a bunch of Thomas the Tank Engine stuff from Target the other day. And I'm gonna
Blue ones go faster. Yeah. Is that what orcs say?
So, yeah, it's just a lot of fun being able to do really wild, wacky stuff.
Fantastic. I'm painting as we speak. I'm painting one thing that has been really good is we're doing a sort of combination approach. So Matt and yourself, I think, brought the boards for the event. Matt brought the 2D terrain. I brought the 3D terrain. So I am painting up some more FDM printed free files, but they're bloody impressive files.
You had some nice stuff there.
Yeah, I've just finished painting a few more of them, and I'm finishing them up now. So, some temple ruins, some orc houses, dwarf houses, towers, stuff like that. So, I'm going to kind of have a bit of a box that I'll carry it around to all the events.
We'll need to have a dwarf house table. Just
a dwarf, yeah, I'll have to find a couple more. I do have I found a Moria tower. I was looking at the file today. I'm not sure whether I have to probably print it in resin. But yeah, I'll have to get this Moria tower. I don't know how you have a tower in Moria, but you do. It's the geography of Moria is extremely confusing. Oh goodness. So yeah, we'll hopefully have those done in the next few weeks, and I'm trying to also put wings on a Carnosaur. It's almost there.
Many a man has tried.
It's the little metal Carnosaur, the 6th ed or whatever ed it is. So not the humongo one. It's going to be a monstrous revenant with a blood dragon. What are they called now? Sangreal vampire on top.
Right.
So we'll see how we go with that. And again, thanks, Max.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
All right, legend. Thanks for coming on and chatting the Rumble. Hope everyone had as much fun as we did. And until next time, signing off from the Part-Time Warlords. Thank you.